Hello everyone, this is James from 3D Printing Reviews, and today's just going to be a quick video, sort of a part 2 of the wiring video that we did last week. Not a lot of progress has been made on that subject actually, mainly because I've been questioning some of the components that I'm thinking of using for the wiring. I think if I'm going to basically, on one of the Facebook groups that I'm a member of, which I'll put a link in the description, I asked the question, if I want to use inline fuses and I want to use an SSR and a ramps board, how do I wire that up? And basically the response that came back was, if you're using an SSR, you don't need the inline fuses, you can use the poly fuses on the ramps board, because basically they're not going to be taking the load that they would if you were directly wiring the heated bed to the ramps board. And then the second response that came back was basically, don't use a cheap SSR such as the one that I've got. Now the question is whether to spend I think the SSR that I bought was around the £8 to £9 mark, which is relatively cheap, compared to the ones that were suggested, which are around the £40 to £50 mark. Now, I'm not going to be buying one that's £40, £50 because it's the overall components in the printer aren't even worth that. So why spend that much money on one thing to protect it? So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the SSR that I've got, not use the inline fuses, and rather than solder the poly fuses back onto the board that I took off, I'm going to use the spare ramps board that I've got, and see how that goes. So yeah, that's why I haven't made a lot of progress on the wiring, so I'm sort of humming and hawing about how to do it. Another thing that was sort of suggested or commented on, and that was a comment in my previous NFire1 video, basically, why don't you not flip the printer but have the motors at the bottom. Now I'm fairly sure that at some point in the Kickstarter campaign I saw a picture of an early design of the NFire1 where the motors were at the bottom, which would make wiring a lot easier. And I kind of guess stability would be a little bit better because it is quite a wobbly printer. And while I think that could and should work, because you can just basically the three arms of the printer are more or less self-contained modules. The extrusion, the rods, the belt, the motor is basically all joined together, and then you make three of them. You then bring those three together with the plates that are included. So you could mix around the plates to get the printer back together, I think, with the motors at the bottom. I'm not sure how, obviously with the hot end, the wiring for the hot end needs to go up. And with it going up at the moment, it can just be secured at the top and plugged in. If it's got to go up and then all the way down again, I'm not sure how that's going to work. It was something that I'm thinking about. I'm not entirely sure if I will go that route, but again, it's caused delays in actual progress because I'm thinking, oh, maybe should I turn the printer upside down? So yeah, so that's why this sort of video, just a quick straight to camera video, no printer to actually look at because I haven't done anything. The only thing I have done is basically I've been thinking about how to get the wires out of the power supply, and if I actually, so if I can just pan the camera, there we go. So as we were saying before, let's just focus that. Obviously the wire has got to come out of the power supply somehow. So rather than drilling a hole in the top, which was the plan, I've designed this little, basically a T junction piece. So we can put our flexible conduit in both ends, so we have it at that end, and then we could take it out and put it in that end, or we'll have one, well, we will have one coming out of both. This I can then drill a hole in this side and have it like that, which I think will look a lot neater. And it also then means I haven't got to mess around with the top and have wires come out of the top and then come all the way down. So that's something I'm working on at the moment. I think I'm going to need a slightly larger hole here, so I'll have to print another one. And in terms of wire, I've decided to go with the 14 gauge wire for the whole printer, including the bed. I was originally going to go with 12 gauge wire for the bed, but the wires I think are probably slightly too thick. And another reason for that actually, and another reason why the SSR I've got is sort of looked at as being a cheap one, is that there's voltage drop. And again, that's why I said that when we were looking at the video with the power supply, that I'm going to run that at 13, possibly even 14 volts, so that the bed gets the full voltage that it needs to heat up quicker and to maintain temperature, etc. So yeah, so that's basically where we are this week. No real progress has been made other than to design this and do a test print, and I'll probably redesign and test this again before we print the final part, and certainly before we drill a hole in the case. So yeah, so that's basically it for today. Please like, comment and subscribe. We've had some comments on the last video, which is really nice to see. So yeah, so thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on printing.